I am Ruth Elaine Jackson, 64. And on that Tuesday afternoon in July 2025, the phone slipped from my hand like the last thread of a life I'd stitched together with bleeding fingers, silent prayers, and the kind of love that leaves scars you don't notice until they're all you have left. Until the weight of every unspoken thank you, every swallowed sob, every dream deferred crashes down like a wave you never saw coming, pulling you under in a riptide of memories you thought you'd buried, but that rise up like ghosts from the deep. It hit the cracked linoleum of my little house on Cascade Avenue with a sound that echoed every unpaid bill stacked in the shoebox under the sink. Every skipped meal of saltine crackers and water, so Hope could have the $4.99 lunch special at Zaxby's with extra salads. Every 3 a.m. drive to the ER with a feverish child in the back seat, her small body burning against my chest as I whispered, "Hold on, baby, mama's got you." The headlights cutting through the dark like knives. Every tear I swallowed so Hope wouldn't see me break, wouldn't see the woman who carried the world on her shoulders crack like the foundation of the house we called home, the one with the leaky roof I patched with tar and prayers every spring. The screen still glowed, defiant, cruel. My daughter Hope in ivory lace at the Swan House Gardens in Buckhead, smiling beside Marcus Hayes, his parents, Dr. Franklin and Mrs. Eleanor, beaming like royalty in a portrait I was never meant to see, their arms linked in a way mine never would be again. The kind of family portrait that hangs in foyers with marble floors and chandeliers, not on walls with peeling paint and photos held up by tape. The caption, white letters on a blush pink background, read, "Our family is complete. Ring, heart. #Hayes wedding." I zoomed in until the pixels blurred, until my eyes burned like the night I stayed up sewing sequins on her ballet costume, with a needle that pricked my thumb so many times the blood dotted the tool like tiny rubies, until I could almost smell the peonies and hear the string quartet playing Pachelbel's canon, searching the champagne flutes, the string quartet, the hydrangeas, anywhere for my own reflection, for the woman who had given 28 years of her life, her youth, her health, her heart, to make that smile possible. The smile I'd seen first when she was born, toothless and squalling. The smile I'd coaxed through fevers and heartbreaks and failures. Nothing. Not even a shadow. Not even the ghost of the woman who had once been the center of Hope's universe, the sun she orbited, the ground she stood on. I raised Hope alone after her father Calvin died in a warehouse accident when she was 4, on May 27, 2001. A Monday I'll never forget because the sun was shining like it had no idea the world was ending. The dogwoods blooming pink along Cascade like nothing had changed. I still remember the call from the foreman on 2:17 p.m. "Ms. Jackson, there was a pallet." He didn't make it. I was at the beauty supply on Campbellton Road buying pink barrettes with tiny butterflies for Hope's first day of kindergarten at Cascade Elementary, the one she'd picked out herself the week before at the Dollar Tree, clutching them in her sticky little hand and saying, "These are for big girls like me." I dropped the basket. The barrettes scattered like tiny pink prayers across the dirty tile, rolling under shelves, disappearing like Hope itself, like the future I had imagined with Calvin pushing Hope on the swing he built, teaching her to ride a bike, walking her down the aisle one day. I stood there frozen as the cashier, Miss Tanya, who knew me from church, who'd seen me pregnant with Hope at the potluck, called my name. Ma'am, Ruth, you okay? Sit down, honey." But I couldn't move. My legs were lead. My heart a fist in my throat, pounding so hard I thought it would burst. Calvin was gone. My high school sweetheart, the boy who sang "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" off key at our wedding in the basement of Cascade United Methodist on September 12, 1992, wearing a rented tux that was too big in the shoulders because the shop ran out of mediums. The man who built the porch swing with his own hands from scrap lumber he salvaged from a demolition site on Lee Street, who sanded it smooth under the streetlight until his fingers bled, who hung it with chains from the hardware store in Campbellton and said, "This is for us, Ruth, for Sunday mornings with coffee and the paper, Saturday nights with the radio, every day in between with you and our babies," who promised me forever under a sky full of Georgia stars and the smell of honeysuckle from Miss Henderson's fence next door, the same fence Hope would later climb to pick the flowers for my birthday bouquet. Gone. That night, I rocked Hope to sleep in the glider he'd refinished in the garage with sandpaper and love, the one that creaked like his laugh when he told jokes about the Army. Her small hand clutching my shirt, whispering through tears that soaked my collar, "Mama, will Daddy come home for breakfast?" He promised pancakes with smiley faces. I lied. I lied for years. I lied every time she asked why Daddy wasn't in the pictures anymore, why his boots were still by the door but his voice was gone, why the swing creaked but no one pushed it. I lied every time I tucked her in and said, "He's watching from heaven, baby. He's proud of you. He sees every good thing you do." I lied so she wouldn't break the way I was breaking. Peace by silent peace in the dark when she couldn't see me. When I'd sit on the porch after she slept and stare at the stars until they blurred, whispering to Calvin, "How do I do this without you?" I cleaned toilets at Piedmont Hospital from 6 a.m. to 2 p.m. The smell of bleach and despair clinging to my scrubs like a second skin. The kind that never washes out no matter how many times you scrub, no matter how hot the water or how much Dawn you use. I scrubbed until my knuckles bled, until the janitor's closet became my confessional, where I whispered to God between mops and buckets, "Why her? Why us? What did I do to deserve this? Take me instead." I remember the day Hope was born, March 17th, 1997, at Grady Memorial, 3:42 a.m. after 19 hours of labor that felt like 19 years, the pain so deep I thought it split in two. The nurse yelling, "Push, Ruth, push," as Calvin held my hand, his palms sweaty, his eyes wide with fear and wonder. The nurse, Miss Gloria, with kind eyes and a voice like warm honey, the same nurse who delivered half the babies in Weston, handed her to me wrapped in a pink blanket with tiny blue footprints on the tag and said, "She's got your eyes, Miss Ruth, and your fight. She's going to be something." I whispered, "Lord, let me be enough." As her tiny fingers curled around mine, her cry the first music I'd ever loved more than Calvin's off-key serenades on the porch, more than the choir at church, more than anything. I remember her first steps in the living room on a rainy Saturday in April 1998, toddling toward Calvin's old army boots by the door, size 11, still scuffed from Desert Storm, the laces frayed from Hope chewing on them as a baby when she teased. Giggling when she fell into my arms, her tiny fingers grabbing my necklace, the one with the tiny gold cross Mama gave me at my own baptism in 1963 at Ebenezer Baptist, the one I'd worn through every trial, every triumph. I remember her first word, "Mama," said on Christmas Eve 1997 while pointing at a photo of me in my Waffle House uniform, the one with the coffee stain on the apron from a customer who'd spilled it laughing at my joke about hash browns being all the ways. The photo Calvin took with his old Kodak and developed at the CVS for $4.99, the one he framed in a $2 frame from the dollar store and hung above the crib. I remember the night she had pneumonia at 5. February 14, 2002, Valentine's Day of all cruel days, her fever 104.2, me driving her to Scottish Rite with $11 in my purse, a crumpled 5 and 6 ones from tips, the gaslight blinking, begging the ER nurse, Miss Keisha, who went to high school with me at Mays, who remembered when I was head cheerleader, to take a post-dated check from the Bank of America on Cascade Road, the one I'd written with shaking hands. I remember sleeping in the vinyl chair beside her bed, the one with the tear in the armrest from years of worried parents, holding her tiny hand singing, "His eye is on the sparrow," until the fever broke at 5:47 a.m., the monitor beeping steady like a heartbeat I thought I'd lost forever, the nurse coming in with tears in her eyes saying, "She's a fighter, Miss Ruth, just like her mama. Y'all both made it through the night." Then I waitressed the graveyard shift at the Waffle House on Moreland Avenue from 10 p.m. to 6 a.m., where the drunks tipped in quarters and the truckers called me sweetheart while staring at my chest, where the fluorescent lights buzzed like dying bees and the coffee was always burnt, where the jukebox played Sweet Home Alabama on repeat because someone kept paying for it. I smiled through it. I smiled when the cook, Big Mike with tattoos up his arms and a heart bigger than his biceps, who'd slip me extra bacon when no one was looking, burned my order and I had to comp a meal with a, "My bad, y'all, let me make it right." I smiled when a customer grabbed my wrist and said, "You sure are pretty for a cleaning lady." His breath sour with whiskey and regret, his wedding ring glinting under the lights. I smiled because every dollar went to Hope. Ballet lessons at Miss Janice's studio in West End, $85 a month I paid by mending costumes for the older girls, staying up until 2 a.m. with a needle and thread, the radio playing Golden by Jill Scott to keep me awake, the same song Hope would dance to years later in her first recital. I remember the recital where Hope, age 7, danced to Somewhere Over the Rainbow in a tutu I'd sewn from scratch, the sequins I'd bought in bulk from the fabric store in Moreland for $12.99 a pack, each one hand-stitched while she slept on the couch with her thumb in her mouth, her hair in 2 puffballs with pink ribbons I'd curled with the old curling iron. The stage lights caught them like stars, and when she bowed, she looked straight at me in the 3rd row, seat C12, $18 ticket I'd bought with tips from table 7, the trucker who left a $20 on a $9 tab and said, "For the little dancer." I cried so hard the program in my lap turned to tissue, and Miss Janice patted my back and said, "That's your baby, Ruth. That's all you. You did that. You're her whole world." I remember SAT prep with Mr. Patel, who charged $60 an hour and let me pay in installments of $20, sometimes in cash, sometimes in homemade pound cake wrapped in foil with the ribbon from the Dollar Tree, the kind with the plastic bow that never stayed tied. The cake I baked at 1 a.m. after my shift, the kitchen smelling like vanilla and exhaustion. I remember the night before the test in October 2014, Hope pacing the kitchen in her Spelman hoodie she bought at the bookstore for $45 during orientation, crying, "Mama, what if I fail? What if I'm not enough? What if they see I'm just a girl from Cascade?" I made her grits with cheese and a fried egg on top, the way Calvin used to on Sundays after church, the cast iron skillet still bearing the scar from when Hope dropped it at age 6 while trying to help, and said, "Baby, you've already won. You're here. You're breathing. You're loved, and love don't fail. It don't need a score to prove it." She got a 1420. I screamed louder than she did when the scores came in at 7:03 a.m. on a Tuesday, the email popping up on my ancient Dell laptop with the cracked hinge. We celebrated with the $5 hot and ready pizza from Little Caesars and a Redbox rental, The Princess and the Frog, because she said Tiana reminded her of me. A hard-working woman who never gave up, who made her own magic, who kissed a frog and found her prince, but never forgot who she was. The prom dress from Lenox Mall, a blush pink satin that cost $289. I paid it off over 9 months, $32 a month, eating oatmeal for dinner with raisins I'd saved from cereal boxes so she could have steak at Longhorn on her birthday, the one where she ordered the Flo's filet and I had water with lemon, skipping my own doctor's appointments, $120 copay I couldn't afford for the arthritis in my knees so she could have braces that cost $4,200 over 3 years, her smile straightening like the future, like the path I'd paved with every sacrifice. I remember the day she tried it on in May 2015, twirling in the living room, the hem brushing the same floor where she'd once spilled grape juice at age 3 and cried for hours because she thought I'd be mad. I wasn't. I just held her and said, "Accidents happen, baby. We clean them up together. That's what love does. It don't keep score." "Mama, I feel like a princess," she said, her eyes shining like the rhinestones on her shoes from Payless, $29.99 on sale. I took 47 photos on my flip phone, each one more beautiful than the last, and printed the best one at Walgreens for 29 cents, taped it to the fridge next to her report card with the A in English. I remember Spelman's graduation day, May 18, 2019. Wearing the same navy dress I'd worn to Calvin's funeral on June 3, 2001, because it was the only nice thing I owned that still fit after losing 15 pounds from stress and grief. The hem let out twice by my own hand with thread from the sewing kit Mama left me. Hope hugged me on the lawn under the magnolia tree, its petals falling like blessings, soft on my shoulders, her cap tassel tickling my cheek, and whispered, "Mama, when I get married, you're walking me down the aisle. Promise. No one else. You're my rock." I believed her. I believed every promise. I believed her when she said, "You're my best friend," when she was 10 and we stayed up late watching The Parent Trap, eating popcorn with extra butter. I believed her when she wrote in my Mother's Day card in 2018, "I'll never forget what you've done for me. You're my hero, my everything." I believed her because I had to. Because if I didn't believe in her love, what was left? What was I? Just a woman with calluses and dreams that never came true? I remember the day she got her first job, summer 2013, age 16, at Chick-fil-A on Cascade Road, the one with the cow mascot out front. She came home smelling like waffle fries and Polynesian sauce, her polo shirt stained with lemonade from a spilled tray, $8.25 an hour in her pocket, her name tag crooked. "Mama, I made $62 today," she said, waving the cash like a flag, her eyes bright as the day she was born. I cried in the bathroom so she wouldn't see, because $62 was what I made in a day scrubbing toilets and serving coffee, and she'd earned it in 8 hours with a smile and a "my pleasure," the phrase they drilled into her like scripture. I remember the day she got her first big promotion, March 15th, 2023. She called from the office at 2:17 p.m. screaming, "Mama, I'm a senior strategist, 6 figures, $105,000. I was at the Waffle House on break, eating a cold hash brown in the walk-in cooler because the AC was broken and the temperature outside was 87 degrees, sweat dripping down my back, soaking my uniform. I cried into the phone, "Baby, I'm so proud. You did it. You really did it." She said, "We'll celebrate Sunday. I'm taking you to the varsity. Chili dogs on me. You deserve it." Sunday never came. She texted at 6:42 p.m. "Rain check, Mama. Client emergency in Charlotte. Next week, I promise." I ate leftover chili from the night before and watched Antiques Roadshow alone, the appraiser valuing a vase at $12,000, while I wondered if my sacrifices had any worth, if the years of oatmeal and skipped haircuts and sold blood plasma had bought her this life, or just pushed her further away into a world where I was a footnote, not a chapter. I remember the night she brought Marcus home the first time after the promotion, April 2nd, 2023. I made baked mac and cheese with 4 cheeses, sharp cheddar, Gouda, mozzarella, Parmesan, the good kind from Kroger, fried chicken soaked in buttermilk for 24 hours in the fridge, the one with the cracked door that still worked, candied yams with a brown sugar crust that caramelized in the oven like amber, collard greens simmered with smoked turkey for 6 hours, my knees aching from 10 hours on my feet at Piedmont, my back screaming from bending over toilets in the cardiac ward, the ones with the patients who never said thank you. Marcus said, "This is, hearty." Hope laughed nervously. "Mama's old school. She cooks with love." I remember the day she stopped calling me Mama in front of him, May 2023, at a brunch at the Country Club of the South, the one with the golf course and the valets. It became Ruth. "Ruth, can you pass the salt?" Like I was a stranger, like the woman who had carried her for 9 months, who had sung her to sleep every night with "You Are My Sunshine," who sold blood plasma twice at the CSL Plasma on Moreland to pay for her calculus tutor in 2014, who had driven her to every debate tournament from Macon to Savannah in the Civic with the busted muffler, was now just Ruth. I remember the day she met Marcus's parents on June 11th, 2023, at the Capital City Club, the one with the crystal chandeliers and the waiters in tuxedos. I wore my navy dress again, the one with the stain near the hem I tried to bleach out with Clorox in prayer. Mrs. Eleanor looked me up and down like I was a smudge on her Louboutins, her pearls perfect, her smile tight. She said, "Hope tells us you're in service." She sipped a mimosa from a flute that cost more than my weekly grocery budget. I smiled, the same smile I gave the truckers. "Yes, ma'am. I serve with my whole heart, every day." Hope didn't defend me. She just changed the subject to the symphony gala, her voice higher, her laugh forced. I remember the Christmas of 2023 when she FaceTimed from Aruba, December 25th,
11:08 a.m. White sand, turquoise water, Marcus's arm around her in a linen shirt unbuttoned to his chest, a pina colada in her hand with a little umbrella. "Mama, we're engaged," she squealed, holding up a ring that caught the sun like a weapon. 2.5 carats, platinum band, $28,000 if I had to guess from the jewelry ads in Southern Living I read in the doctor's office. I was in my kitchen, stirring greens in the same pot I'd had since 1999, the one with the chipped handle when Hope dropped it at age 8. Wearing the same apron with the faded Kiss the Cook logo Calvin bought me at the State Farmers Market in Forest Park for $3.99, the one with the burn mark from the Christmas ham in 2010. I said, "Congratulations, baby." My voice cracked like the porch step I've been meaning to fix. She didn't notice. She said, "We'll plan everything together. You, me, and Mrs. Hayes, peonies, string quartet, the Swan House. You'll love it." The planning never happened. I remember the day she came home in April 2024, eyes bright, holding a bridal magazine thicker than my Bible, Modern Luxury Brides, $12.99 at Barnes & Noble, the one with the model on the cover who looked nothing like us, nothing like the whip in our family with our wide hips and our loud laughs. "Mama, I found the perfect venue, the Swan House. Garden ceremony, string quartet, peonies everywhere, 150 guests max." I smiled, heart swelling like it did the day she learned to read Green Eggs and Ham at age 4, sitting on my lap in the rocking chair Calvin built from a kit at Home Depot. "That's beautiful, baby. When's the date? I'll start saving for the dress." She hesitated, flipping pages too fast, her nails perfect from the salon. "We're thinking small, just family, like immediate." I nodded. I didn't know immediate family no longer included the woman who'd given her life, who'd sold her own mother's pearl earrings, the ones from 1955, given on her wedding day, the ones I wore when Calvin proposed, to buy Hope's first laptop in 2010, a Dell that cost $429 at Best Buy on sale. I remember the day she got her driver's license, July 17th, 2009. I'd saved for a year, scrubbing extra toilets at the hospital, skipping lunches, selling Avon on the side to Mrs. Rodriguez and Sister Maddie and the ladies at the beauty shop to buy her a used 2003 Honda Civic, red, with a dent in the fender from the previous owner's teenage son who'd backed into a mailbox, the odometer at 89,000 miles, but the engine purring like a cat. I surprised her after school at Benjamin E. Mays High, parked in the fire lane with a bow made from red ribbon I'd saved from Christmas 2008, the one from the gift Calvin's mama sent before she passed. She screamed, jumped into my arms, keys dangling from her finger like freedom, like the world was hers. "Mama, I love you forever." We drove to the Waffle House where I worked, and I let her order anything. Pecan waffle, hash brown, scattered, smothered, covered, topped, capped, diced, peppered, a side of bacon, orange juice in a Togo cup with a straw, a slice of pecan pie a la mode. She took a selfie with me in my uniform, posted it on Facebook. "Best mom in the world, earth emoji, red heart, hashtag my hero." That post got 87 likes, 22 comments, including one from Miss Janice. "That's my star dancers, mama. Proud of both y'all." I printed it at the library for 50 cents, framed it in a $3 Walmart frame, hung it above the TV next to Calvin's army photo in his dress blues, the one where he's smiling like he knows he's loved, like he knows he's leaving something behind. I remember the day she left for college, August 14th, 2015. I drove her to Spelman in the Civic, trunk packed with plastic bins from Target, clear, $5.99 each, on sale during back to school, a mini fridge I bought on layaway at Sears for $179, paying in our family with our wide hips and our loud laughs. "Mama, I found the perfect venue, the Swan House. Garden ceremony, string quartet, peonies everywhere, 150 guests max." I smiled, heart swelling like it did the day she learned to read Green Eggs and Ham at age 4, sitting on my lap in the rocking chair Calvin built from a kit at Home Depot. That's beautiful, baby. When's the date? I'll start saving for the dress. She hesitated, flipping pages too fast, her nails perfect from the salon. We're thinking small, just family, like immediate family. I nodded. I didn't know immediate family no longer included the woman who'd given her life, who'd sold her own mother's pearl earrings, the ones from 1955, given on her wedding day, the ones I wore when Calvin proposed, to buy Hope's first laptop in 2010, a Dell that cost $429 at Best Buy, on sale. I remember the day she got her driver's license, July 17, 2009. I'd saved for a year, scrubbing extra toilets at the hospital, skipping lunches, selling Avon on the side to Miss Rodriguez and Sister Maddie and the ladies at the beauty shop to buy her a used 2003 Honda Civic, red, with the dent in the fender from the previous owner's teenage son who backed into a mailbox, the odometer at 89,000 miles, but the engine purring like a cat. I surprised her at school at Benjamin E. Mays High, parked in the fire lane with a bow made from red ribbon I'd saved from Christmas 2008, the one from the gift Calvin's mama sent before she passed. She screamed, jumped into my arms, keys dangling from her finger like freedom, like the world was hers. Mama, I love you forever. We drove to the Waffle House where I worked, and I let her order anything. Pecan waffle hash brown, scattered, smothered, covered, top, cap, diced, peppered up side of bacon, orange juice, and a Togo cut with a straw, a slice of pecan pie a la mode. She took a selfie with me in my uniform, posted it on Facebook. Best mom in the world. Earth. Heart. Hashtag my hero. That post got 87 likes, 22 comments, including one from Miss Janice that said, "That's my star dancer's mama, proud of both y'all." I printed it at the library for 50 cents, framed it in a $3 Walmart frame, hung it above the TV next to Calvin's army photo in his dress blues, the one where he's smiling like he knows he's loved, like he knows he's leaving something behind. I remember the day she left for college, August 14th, 2015. I drove her to Spelman in the Civic, trunk packed with plastic bins from Target, clear, $5.99 each, on sale during back to school. A mini fridge I bought on layaway at Sears for $179, paying $20 a month for 9 months. The quilt Mama hand-stitched with squares from Hope's old baby clothes, yellow duckies, pink flowers, a patch from her first ballet recital with a tiny sequin still attached, the one she wore when she fell off the stage at age 5, and I caught her before she hit the floor. She cried when we pulled up to Abbey Hall, the dorm with the brick arches and the magnolia tree out front. It scent heavy in the August heat, the upperclassmen shouting, "Welcome, sisters," from the steps. "Mama, I'm scared. What if I'm not smart enough? What if they see I don't belong? What if I call you every night crying?" I hugged her tight, smelled her coconut conditioner from the Suave bottle we'd shared for years, the one that left white flakes in her braids I'd pick out with my fingers. "You're ready, baby. You've been ready since the day you were born, and if you fall, I'll be right here to catch you. Always. Every night. Every tear." I cried the whole 45-minute drive home on I-20, windows down, Mary J. Blige's No More Drama on repeat, the CD skipping on track 3 because Hope had scratched it dancing in the car to Family Affair at a red light, her arms flailing, her laugh filling the car like sunshine. I remember the day she got her first period, October 22nd, 2009. I was at work when the school called at 11:27 a.m. "Miss Jackson, Hope needs you. It's girl stuff." I left mid-shed, drove to Fickett Elementary, found her in the nurse's office, curled up on a cot with a hot water bottle, mortified, her uniform skirt stained, her face buried in her hands. I bought pads at the CVS on Cascade, always ultra thin, $6.99 each, the kind with wings. Sat in the parking lot with the engine running, explained everything. Cramps, cycles, chocolate as medicine, how to fold the wings, how to hide the wrapper in the trash so the boys wouldn't tease, how to tell me when she needed more. This means you're becoming a woman. She hugged me so hard my name tag dug into my chest, the one that said Ruth, Environmental Services, in faded letters. I want to be like you, Mama, strong, beautiful, kind, the kind of woman who makes the world softer, who holds it together when it falls apart. I remember the day she won the state debate championship, March 22nd, 2014. I took the Greyhound to Augusta because the Civic was in the shop with a busted alternator that cost $312 to fix at the Firestone on Campbellton, the mechanic giving me a discount because he knew Calvin from the Army. She saw me in the audience, third row, wearing my church hat with the fake peonies from the Dollar General, the one I wore to Calvin's funeral, the one with the veil I lifted so I could see her clearly. She waved, mouthed, "I love you." She won first place with a speech on affirmative action, her voice steady, her hands gesturing like she was conducting an orchestra, thanked me in her closing. To my mama, Ruth Jackson, who taught me that words can change the world and that love is the most powerful argument of all. Without her, I wouldn't be standing here. The trophy, a gold figure holding a gavel, sat on the mantel for years, gathering dust after she moved out, until I packed it away in the storage unit with the label Hope's Achievements, the box heavy with medals and memories and the weight of a mother's pride. I remember the day she brought home her first heartbreak, February 14, 2011. A boy named Jamal from the marching band dumped her for a cheerleader named Keisha.
Wore her skirt too short and her smile too wide, who posted selfies with Jamal at the mall. She cried on the porch swing for hours, mascara running like black rivers down her cheeks, her red heart sweater soaked with tears, the one I'd bought her at Target for $14.99. I made hot chocolate with extra marshmallows from the jet-puffed bag, let her fall asleep on my lap like she was 5 again, her head heavy on my chest, her breath hitching like a sob that wouldn't end. "Mama, will it always hurt this bad? Will I ever be enough?" I stroked her braids, the ones I'd cornrowed the night before with blue beads at the ends that clicked when she moved, the ones she begged for after seeing them on A Different World. "No, baby. One day someone will love you the way you deserve. And if they don't, you'll love yourself enough for both of you. You'll be your own Valentine, your own hero." I didn't know that someone would help her forget me, would teach her that love came with conditions, with country clubs and trust funds and a mother-in-law who looked at me like I was yesterday's news, like I was the help. I remember the day Calvin's mother, Mama Grace, died, November 3, 2010. Hope was 13. We drove to Macon in the rain, the Civic's wipers squeaking like they were crying too, the radio playing "Take My Hand, Precious Lord" on 97.1, the station Calvin loved. Mama Grace had been my rock after Calvin died, teaching me how to make his favorite pound cake with the lemon glaze that dripped like honey, how to pray when words failed, how to iron a man's shirt so the collar stood crisp even after 20 years, how to hold my head high when the world tried to break me. At the funeral at St. Peter's Baptist, Hope held my hand so tight my fingers went numb, her nails digging into my palm, the one she painted pink for the occasion. She sang "Precious Lord" in the youth choir, her voice cracking on the high notes, tears streaming down her face like the rain on the stained glass windows, depicting Jesus with the children. Afterward, at the repast in the fellowship hall with the folding tables and the plastic tablecloths and the Tupperware full of fried chicken and macaroni, she said, "Mama, I'm never leaving you. We're all we've got. You, me, and Grandma Grace's recipes. We'll keep her alive in the kitchen." I believed her. I believed her when she was 16 and swore she'd never date a boy who didn't respect me, who didn't call me Ms. Ruth and open doors and bring flowers on Mother's Day. I believed her when she was 21 and said she'd never let money change her, that she'd always come home for Sunday dinner, for my smothered pork chops and her favorite peach cobbler. I believed her until the day she posted, "Family complete."
without me. Until the day she stopped coming to church because Marcus said it was too loud, too emotional, too extra. Until the day she returned the quilt Mama made because it didn't match the aesthetic of her new apartment with the marble counters and the view of the Fox Theater and the wine fridge that held bottles I couldn't pronounce. I remember the day I taught her to ride a bike, June 1999. In the driveway, she was 2, on a tricycle with streamers that caught the wind like dreams, the ones I tied on with a ribbon from a birthday gift. I ran beside her, holding the back until she pedaled on her own, laughing so hard she fell into the grass, her knee scraped but her smile unstoppable, her pigtails bouncing. I remember the day she lost her first tooth. Age 6, biting into an apple at recess, coming home with it in a Ziploc bag, proud as could be, the gap in her smile like a promise of growing up, of change I wasn't ready for. We put it under her pillow, and the tooth fairy left $5 and a note in my handwriting. Keep smiling, princess. You light up the world. Love, T.F. I remember the day she got her first A in calculus. Spring 2014, running into the house, waving the test, screaming, "Mama, I did it! I got a 98! Mr. Patel said I'm a genius!" I danced with her in the kitchen to Happy by Pharrell, barefoot, flour on the floor from the biscuits I was making, the radio blaring so loud Mrs. Rodriguez next door banged on the wall with her broom, but we didn't care. I remember the day Hope got her first car, December 2016. A used 2012 Toyota Camry, silver, $8,500 from a lot on Moreland, the salesman giving me a deal because he knew my cousin Loretta. I'd saved every extra shift, every pie sold, every plasma donation at $50 a pop, the needle in my arm while I thought of Hope's smile. She cried when I handed her the keys, hugged me so tight my breathing, the keys cutting into my back. "Mama, this is freedom. This is everything." We drove to Stone Mountain that night, windows down, singing "Ain't No Mountain High Enough" at the top of our lungs, the same song Calvin sang at our wedding, the one that played when Hope was born, when she took her first steps, when she graduated. I remember the day she moved into her luxury apartment, June 2021, the Viewpoint on Peachtree, 28th floor, the one with the concierge and the gym and the rooftop pool. The elevator was broken, so I carried boxes up 28 flights, my knees screaming, sweat soaking my dress, the one I'd worn to her graduation. She laughed. "Mama, you're stronger than the movers. You're Superwoman." I smiled, but inside I was breaking because the boxes were full of things I'd never see again. Her childhood, her roots, her mama, the quilt, the trophies, the photos. I remember the day the wedding invitation came, June 15th, 2014. In the mail, thick cream cardstock, gold foil, calligraphy that cost more than my monthly light bill. Addressed to Ms. Ruth Jackson and guest. No +1 for the woman who raised her, who had been her +1 for 28 years. I held it in shaking hands, the paper cut in my finger like a betrayal, a drop of blood on the RSVP card. I remember the day I drove past the Swan House, July 21, 2025, the day before the wedding. I saw the setup, white tents, fairy lights, peony and mason jars, tables,
with linen napkins folded like swans. A security guard stopped me at the gate, his badge gleaming. "Private event, ma'am. Invitation only." I sat in the Civic, engine running, tears streaming, until a bridesmaid in a pastel dress tapped on my window. "Are you lost? Do you need help?" I wanted to scream, "I'm home. This is my daughter's wedding. I'm the mother of the bride." But I just drove away, the gates closing behind me like a door I'd never open again. I remember the day I sold my wedding ring, August 15th, 2025, at the pawn shop on Butler Avenue in Tybee, the one with the neon sign flickering cash for gold. The gold band Calvin gave me in 1992,
the one with the tiny scratch from when he dropped it proposing in the Waffle House parking lot after my shift, the one I'd worn every day for 33 years. The pawnbroker, a man with kind eyes and a tattoo of a mermaid, offered $250. I took it. I used to buy a new journal with a seashell on the cover, the kind with thick pages for thick stories, the kind that could hold a lifetime. I write in it every night now, about the sunrise painting the sky pink and gold, about Miss Dolores's laugh that sounds like church bells, about the way the moon pulls the tide like a mother pulls her child close, about the sand dollars I find whole and perfect, about the day I stopped waiting. Then came Tuesday, July 22nd, 2025. I was sipping Folgers from the chipped Spellman mug she gave me for Mother's Day 2015, the one with World's Best Mom in purple script, a crack in the handle from when I dropped it the day she moved out, the day she said, "I need space, Mama." Scrolling Facebook for church sisters' grandbabies, Sister Maddie's grandson and his tiny Morehouse blazer with the maroon tie, Deacon Harris's twin girls in matching braids with pink barrettes and gap-toothed smiles, when the photo appeared. Hope in ivory lace at the Swan House, Marcus and Lennon, his parents, beaming. The string quartet in the background was the only black faces besides Hope. No Ruth, no mention, just family complete. I zoomed until my eyes burned. I called 7 times, voicemail, texted, "Baby, everything okay?" Reply at 3:14 p.m. "Fine, Mama, busy, talk soon." Soon never came. That night, I rocked on the porch swing Calvin built the summer before he died. The Georgia heat thick as grief. Cicadas screaming like they knew my heart was shattering into 1,000 pieces I'd never find, pieces that would wash away with the morning dew. I remembered Hope at 8, her confirmation day at Cascade United Methodist on Palm Sunday 2005. I'd saved for 6 months, $5 here, $10 there, quarters from the Waffle House tip jar, rented the church hall, made barbecue in the church kitchen with Pastor Jenkins' smoker that belched hickory smoke, potato salad with extra eggs and sweet relish and a dash of mustard, ordered a red velvet cake from Publix with God's Child and white icing and a cross made of fondant that melted a little in the heat. She wore a white dress I paid a seamstress $75 to make from a pattern in McCall's magazine, the one with the Peter Pan collar and the sash I tied in a perfect bow with trembling fingers. She hugged me in front of everyone, Pastor Jenkins with his booming voice, Sister Maddie with her hat bigger than her head, the ushers in white gloves, Deacon Harris with his cane, and said, "Mama, you're the prettiest lady here. I want to be just like you when I grow up. I want to love like you." I remembered her at 15, the day of her sweet 16 on March 17, 2012, her birthday, St. Patrick's Day, the one we celebrated with green cupcakes. I'd worked double shifts for a year, cleaning houses and Vinings for Mrs. Rodwell, who paid $80 cash under the table and always left a tip in an envelope. Babysitting the doctor's kids at night for $12 an hour while they watched Disney movies. Selling sweet potato pies on weekends at the West End Farmers Market for $5 a slice, $35 a whole. The recipe from Mama Grace with the secret dash of nutmeg and love. We rented the Magnolia Room in Midtown, had a live band. The Soul Brothers, $800 for 3 hours. The lead singer with a voice like velvet that played Before I Let Go 3 times because she bagged. 150 guests in their Sunday best. A photographer who charged $1,200 but gave me a discount because I cleaned his office every Tuesday and left it smelling like lemon pledge. She danced with me to You Are My Sunshine, barefoot, laughing. The DJ announcing, "This one's for Hope and her mama, the real MVP, the woman who made this all possible. Mama, this is our song forever." She said, her arms around my neck, her breath warm on my cheek, her eyes shining like the disco ball. Forever lasted until Marcus.
I remembered the letter she wrote at 18, pink stationery with hearts in the margins. The night before she left for Spelman, the ink smudged from her tears. Dearest Mama, nothing I achieve will be possible without you. You are my hero. When I grow up, I want to be a mother like you, loving, sacrificial, who always puts family first. I love you with all my heart. Your daughter, Hope. I kept that letter in my Bible, between Psalms 23 and 27, the pages worn from rereading, the ink smudged from tears on nights when the house was too quiet and the bed was too big, when I wondered if I'd ever be enough, if all the love I poured out would ever come back to me. At 3:17 a.m., I went inside, opened the lockbox under my bed, the one with the combination 03-1797, Hope's birthday, the numbers worn smooth from years of turning, from nights I checked to make sure the money was still there. Inside, $187,000 in a savings account I'd built stitch by stitch, every overtime shift at Piedmont, $18.50 an hour after 20 years, $27.75 for overtime I volunteered for.
Trim I did myself with kitchen scissors in a YouTube tutorial. Every Christmas, I told Hope, Santa's running late this year because I'd spent the bonus on her winter coat from Burlington Coat Factory, the one with the faux fur hood she wore until it fell apart in the wash. The paid-off deed to the house on Cascade, but with Calvin's $250,000 life insurance from the Army and 29 years of mortgage payments, $1,087 a month like clockwork, the last one made on June 1st, 2025, the day I cried in the bank teller's office because it was done, because I'd done it alone. A manila folder labeled in my careful cursive, "For Hope's wedding, dress, venue, flowers, cake," with $42,000 earmarked inside, money I'd saved by sewing alterations for the ladies at Cascade United Methodist, $25 a hem, $40 for a full dress, $75 for a debutante gown with beading, by selling sweet potato pies at the West End Farmers Market every Saturday from 7 a.m. to 2 p.m., rain or shine, my hands cracked from the cold, by eating oatmeal with raisins so she could have steak and lobster on her 21st birthday at the Capitol Grill, the bill $187 I paid with a smile and a prayer. I closed the folder. The wedding was over. The money was mine now. For the first time, it was mine. For Ruth. Wednesday morning, July 23, I called my cousin Loretta in Savannah. She picked up on the second ring, her voice raspy from years of smoking Virginia Slims on her Tybee porch, the one with the creaky boards and the wind chimes made from seashells and old spoons and bottle caps. "Ruthie, you sound different," she said before I even spoke, like she could hear the crack in my soul through the phone, like she'd been waiting for this call for years. I told her everything. The photo, the caption, the silence, the years of waiting, the promises broken one by one like the beads on the necklace Hope lost at age 6 in the Waffle House parking lot, the one I replaced with a $10 string from the beauty supply. She didn't gasp. She didn't cry. She said, "Girl, it's time you lived for Ruth. You hear me? For Ruth. Not Hope's mama, not Calvin's widow, not the cleaning lady, not the waitress, Ruth Elaine Jackson, child of God, woman of the tide, keeper of her own heart, survivor of storms, builder of dreams. You done gave enough. Now it's time to take." I heard her. For the first time, I really heard. And I cried, not the silent tears of a mother who hides her pain, but the loud, ugly sobs of a woman reclaiming her life, the kind that shake your whole body, that leave you empty and full at the same time. Thursday, July 24th, I opened my laptop, Hope's old Dell Inspiron I'd bought refurbished in 2016 for $179 after she upgraded to a MacBook Air for her internship at the marketing firm, the one with the sticker from Spelman on the lid, and searched Senior Living Coastal Georgia. Sea Breeze Senior Living on Tybee Island popped up like a miracle. Oceanfront cottages with porches facing the Atlantic, sunrise yoga on the sand with Miss Dolores leading in her sun hat and flowing linen, her voice steady as the waves, book clubs in the gazebo every Tuesday reading everything from Toni Morrison to Cozy Mysteries by Valerie Wilson Wesley,
Thursday night shrimp boils where residents brought their own hot sauce and stories older than the island itself, stories of lost loves and found families, a calendar full of trips to Savannah's historic district, the Owens Thomas house with its slave quarters tour that made me cry for the mothers who'd never see their children again, the Davenport house with its secret garden where I'd sit and pray, Charleston plantations where I'd walk the grounds and whisper apologies to the ancestors, even a dolphin cruise in November with Captain Ray, who guaranteed sightings or your money back, and told stories about his granddaddy who fished these waters in the 1940s, who said the dolphins were the souls of sailors come back to guide us home. The website showed Ms. Dolores, 78, laughing in a sun hat as she painted watercolors of sunsets that looked like heaven, the colors bleeding into each other like forgiveness. Mr. Clarence, 72, carving driftwood into dolphins with a pocket knife older than hope, his hands steady as faith, his eyes crinkling when he smiled. Mrs. Yvonne, 69, leading the choir with a voice like mahogany and a laugh that could wake the dead, her arms raised in praise like she was hugging the sky. I filled out the inquiry form with shaking hands, interested in one-bedroom cottage with porch, available immediately, widow, ready for peace, ready to hear the ocean instead of my own heartbreak, ready to be Ruth, ready to live. Friday, July 25th, the realtor came, Miss Keisha Washington, sharp suit, clipboard, no nonsense, smelling like cocoa butter and ambition, her nails painted the same blush pink as Hope's wedding caption, the irony not lost on me. She walked through my house like she was pricing memories. The kitchen where I taught Hope to make biscuits at age 7, flour on her nose like a tiny ghost, her laughter echoing off the walls like music. The hallway where Calvin measured her height every birthday with a pencil mark and the date. Her last one at 18 still there. 5'6". The pencil smudged from my tears when I realized she'd stopped growing in my arms. The backyard where we buried her goldfish Goldie in a matchbox coffin under the pecan tree in 2004. The spot now overgrown with weeds and memories, and the swing where she'd sit and dream. The living room where we watched The Color Purple every Christmas, crying at the reunion scene when Nettie comes home, when Celie says, "I'm here." The bedroom where Hope practiced her Spelman interview in the mirror, wearing my good pearls, the ones I had sold years ago to pay for her application fee. "Miss Caston, your neighborhood's hot. We'll list at $425,000, cash offers only. You'll be out by August. You'll be free." I signed the papers with the same pen I used to write Hope's college recommendation letters, the one with the tube cap from nights I stayed up helping with essays on The Bluest Eye and Beloved, the ink bleeding like my heart. 4 days later, July 29th, a young couple, both tech bros, named Alex and Jordan, with man buns and Patagonia vests, talking about crypto and startups.
$410,000 cash. I cried when I signed, not for the walls, but for the life I was leaving. The creaky third step Hope used to jump over to avoid the monster, the window where she watched for the ice cream truck every summer, playing Pop Goes the Weasel on repeat, the porch swing where I rocked her through nightmares and fevers, and the night she found out Santa wasn't real. When she cried not for the myth, but for the magic ending. When I held her and said, "The magic's in us, baby. It always was." Saturday, August 2nd, I packed. I kept Mama's King James Bible with the cracked leather cover and pressed magnolia petals from Calvin's funeral, the pages marked at every verse I'd read to Hope when she was sick, when the world was too big. Calvin's old transistor radio that still picked up 97.1 praise on Sunday mornings, the one he used to fall asleep to with his head on my lap, his snoring soft as a lullaby. Hope's baby blanket, faded yellow, smelling faintly of Johnson's powder and the lavender sachets I used to tuck in her crib to keep the monsters away, the one she'd clutched during thunderstorms, during the night Calvin died. I folded it in tissue, placed it in a cedar box Mama Grace gave me for my 40th birthday, the one with the carving of a dove, and set it on the highest shelf in my new cottage, not displayed, but not discarded, a reminder, not a shrine, a piece of her, not all of me.
I boxed Hope's things, yearbooks with her senior quote, "The future belongs to those who believe in the beauty of their dreams." Ironic now, cruel almost. Debate trophies from the state championship where she thanked me in her speech. The prom dress, still in plastic from the cleaner, blush pink satin that caught the light like a promise. The Spelman tassel tangled with a dry magnolia leaf from graduation day. I drove them to a midtown storage unit, 2 blocks from her Viewpoint apartment on Peachtree Street, the one with the doorman who never learned my name, who looked at me like I was delivering packages. I labeled each box in Sharpie. Hope's Childhood, Unit 217, key under mat. No note, no explanation. Some absences speak louder than words. Some love lets go. Some mothers learn to fly. Hope called that same Saturday at 2:13 p.m. "Mama, we're coming tomorrow with the wedding album and Aruba gifts. Marcus got you a pearl necklace from Tiffany's, the one you always wanted with the diamond clasp from the blue box." I was already in Tybee, hanging seashell curtains in my new cottage, the ocean breeze rattling the wind chimes Miss Dolores gave me as a welcome gift, made from abalone shells and fishing line, tinkling like laughter, like freedom. I let the phone ring until voicemail swallowed her voice. I didn't call back. For the first time, I didn't wait. I didn't hold my breath. I breathed. Now, November 11th, 2025, 3:30 p.m. PKT, I wake to waves instead of traffic on I-20. My cottage, number 17 Sea Oats Lane, smells of salt, coffee, and the lavender sachets Miss Dolores keeps in her linen closet and shares with anyone who needs calm, anyone who's carried too much for too long, anyone who's ready to lay it down. I walk the beach at sunrise with her. 78, former Macon nurse, widowed twice, first to a soldier in Vietnam who never came home, his letters still in a box under her bed, then to a preacher who died of a heart attack mid-sermon at First Baptist, his Bible open to Psalm 23. Sharpening women half her age, with a laugh that sounds like church bells and a heart that's been broken and mended more times than she can count, mended with grace and grit and the kind of faith that moves mountains. We talk about everything except children. The best way to fry shrimp without cornmeal, she swears by rice flour and a cast iron skillet older than me, seasoned with bacon grease and prayers and the tears of 1,000 dinners. Whether the Color Purple musical holds up to the book, we agree Celi's letter to God is sacred, but the stage version makes us cry harder, makes us stand and cheer when she says, "I'm beautiful." The time she snuck into a James Brown concert in '69 at the Macon City Auditorium and danced with a man who claimed to be his cousin. She still has the ticket stub in a frame above her bed, next to a photo of her in a mini dress and go-go boots. On Thursdays, I teach cooking in the community kitchen. Shrimp and grits the way Calvin loved them, with extra smoked sausage from the Tybee market, a dash of hot sauce for the ancestors, and a story about the first time Hope tried to flip a pancake and it landed on our dog Rufus, who licked it clean before we could stop him, his tail wagging like a metronome, his eyes saying, "Thank you." The residents line up with Tupperware. Mr. Clarence brings his own hot sauce in a repurposed Tabasco bottle and calls me Chef Ruth, bowing like I'm royalty, like I'm someone. I sing in the choir at First African Baptist on Butler Avenue. Miss Yvonne says my alto grounds the sopranos, that it's like the ocean holding the shore, steady and true, deep and unmovable. No one here knows me as Hope's mama. I'm just Ruth, who laughs too loud at movie nights during The Best Man. I always cry when Tay Diggs reads the letter because I know what it's like to love someone who forgets you, who moves on, who wins at Bid Whisk every Friday with a royal flush and a grin that shows the gap in my teeth I never fix because Hope said it made me real, who plants sea oats in her tiny yard and watch them bend but never break in the salt wind, just like me, just like the woman I've become. I remember the first time I laughed here, really laughed. the kind that starts in your belly and explodes like fireworks, the kind that makes your eyes water and your sides ache. It was August 9th. During the community luau, Miss Dolores wore a grass skirt over her jeans. Mr. Clarence played ukulele, badly, but with heart, missing every third note but smiling through it. And someone, Miss Yvonne, I suspect, spiked the punch with peach moonshine from a mason jar labeled for medicinal purposes. I danced the electric slide with her, my hips moving.
They hadn't since Calvin's funeral, when the deacons played When the Saints Go Marching In, and I swayed in the aisle, my grief too heavy to hold still, my feet moving like they remembered joy. I laughed until my sides hurt, until tears came, not from pain but from joy, the kind I'd forgotten existed, the kind that fills you up instead of emptying you out. I remember the first time I cried here. It was September 14, during the full moon drum circle on the beach. The drums echoed like heartbeats, the fire crackled, and someone started singing Wade in the Water. I thought of Hope's baptism at age 10, March 18, 2007, how I held her hand as Pastor Jenkins dipped her in the font at Cascade United Methodist, how she came up gasping and smiling, water streaming down her face like grace, saying, "Mama, I feel new, like I can do anything." I cried quietly, letting the ocean take the tears. Miss Dolores sat beside me, didn't ask questions, just handed me a tissue and said, "The sea's big enough for all of it, Ruth. Grief, joy, everything. It don't judge. It just holds. It just keeps moving." I remember the first time I said no to Hope, October 27, when she texted, "Can we do lunch tomorrow? I miss you." I was booked for the ghost tour in Savannah with Miss Dolores and Mr. Clarence, the one where they tell stories about the pirate Anne Bonny and the haunted Sorrel Weed House and the lady in blue who walks the squares at midnight. I replied, "Next week, baby, I'm busy." She didn't respond. I didn't chase. I remember the first time I bought something just for me, September 3rd, a pair of tiny silver dolphin earrings from the Tybee gift shop, $18, the first jewelry I'd owned since selling Mama's pearls, the first thing I bought without thinking, "Will Hope like this?" I wore them to the October craft fair where I sold my sealed wreaths for $35 each. The oats I'd gathered at low tide, dried in the sun on my porch, woven with fishing line and love and the steady hands of a woman who learned to hold herself. A tourist from Ohio bought 3, said, "These remind me of home, of peace." I smiled, pocketed the cash, and thought, "This is home now. This is mine. This is peace." I remember the day I started writing my own story, August 20, 2025, in the journal with the seashell cover. The first entry, "Today I chose me. Today I began." I write every night now under the lamp with the shade Miss Dolores gave me, the one with the fringe. I write about the pain, the love, the letting go. I write about the day Hope shows up, if she ever does. I write about the woman I'm becoming. October brought the visit. I was arranging driftwood on my porch, the pieces smooth as worry stones, when the receptionist called at 10:47 a.m. "Miss Jackson, you have guests in the lobby." Hope and Marcus stood clutching a robin's egg blue Tiffany's bag like a peace offering.
The kind that costs more than forgiveness. The kind that can't buy back time. Hope looks smaller, her designer dress hanging loose as if the weight of her choices had shrunk her. Her eyes red from crying or lack of sleep. Marcus's smile was tight as a drum, his loafers squeaking on the tile like a lie, his cufflinks glinting like accusations. "Mama, the house is gone," Hope said, voice cracking like the teenager who once cried when her goldfish died, when I'd flushed it and told her it went to fish heaven. "Mrs. Rodriguez said you moved. Why didn't you tell me? Why didn't you let me help?" I wore my new linen dress from the tidy boutique, seafoam green, $42 on sale, the one that flows when I walk. Salt-kissed curls, twisted with a hibiscus clip Miss Dolores gave me from her garden, the petals still fragrant with memory. Because I stopped waiting to be invited, I said, calm as a tide at noon, my voice steady for the first time in years, steady like the woman I'd become. Marcus shifted, his Rolex catching the light like a warning, like a reminder of everything I wasn't. "We were gonna tell you," I cut in. "You told the internet on July 23rd at 6:47 p.m. That was enough. That was more than enough." Hope's eyes filled, mascara smudging into tiny rivers, the same way it did on prom night when she was so happy. "It was small, just family." I laughed, a sound I hadn't heard from myself in years, raw and free, the kind that comes from the bottom of your soul, from a place that's been locked too long. "I was family for 28 years, baby. I changed your diapers at 3 a.m. with one hand while rocking you with the other, singing Hush Little Baby until my voice gave out. I held your hair when you had the flu in 2012 and threw up on my only good shoes, the ones I wore to your graduation. I sold my mama's pearl earrings, the ones she wore to her own wedding in 1955, the ones with the tiny scratch from her nervous fingers, to buy your first laptop in 2010 so you could write your college essays, the ones that got you into Spelman. Apparently that expired the day you said I do without me." I led them to the gazebo overlooking the dunes. Seagulls wheeled overhead, their cry as sharp as truth, as the words I'd held in for too long. "I live here now," I continued, my voice steady as the horizon, as the life I'd built. "I have friends who call me Ruth, not Hope's mama. I have plans. Savannah Ghost Tour last week with Miss Dolores, Dolphin Cruise in November with Captain Ray, a Christmas wreath class where I'm teaching $dollar ornaments with hot glue and ribbon, and stories about the ancestors, about the mothers who came before us. I have a life. You're welcome to visit, but on my terms. Call first, respect my time, or don't come at all." Hope whispered, clutching the Tiffany's bag, "Can we start over?" I touched the pearl necklace inside. Cold, perfect, expensive. The kind of gift that says, I can buy your forgiveness. The kind that can't buy back love. I handed it back. "We're not starting over," I said, my voice soft but unbreakable, like the sea oats in the wind. "We're starting new. And this tidy boutique,
This time, I'm in the picture too. Not in the background. Not as an guest. As Ruth. As me. As the woman who loved you enough to let you go, and loved myself enough to stay." They left after an hour, Hope's eyes red, Marcus silent. I watched their BMW disappear down Butler Avenue, then walked to the beach. The tide was going out, leaving ripples in the sand like memories, like the lines on my hands from years of holding on too tight, from years of giving until there was nothing left. I picked up a sand dollar, whole and unbroken, and slipped it into my pocket. A promise to myself, a talisman. Today, November 11, 2025, 03:30 p.m. PKT, I write from my porch as the tide rolls in, steady and sure. The sea oats I planted in July now thigh-high, silver green in the afternoon light, bending but never breaking in the salt wind, just like the woman I've become, just like the love I've learned to give myself. Hope texts sometimes. Lunch in Savannah Saturday? I miss you. I reply when I choose. Sometimes yes, over shrimp po' boys at the Crab Shack, where we talk about everything except the wedding, where she asks about my wreaths and I ask about her job, where we laugh like we used to, tentative but real. Sometimes no, because I'm leading the book club discussion on Their Eyes Were Watching God, and Janie's journey feels like my own, her voice saying, "You got to go there to know there." And I finally been. I finally know. Yesterday at cooking class, a new resident, Miss Valerie, 70, from Birmingham, with a laugh like church bells and a scar on her cheek from a fall in '82 that left her with a limp but not a complaint, asked, "Miss Ruth, do you ever miss your daughter?" I thought of the little girl who used to fall asleep on my chest, thumb in mouth, dreaming of princesses. I thought of the woman who posted "family complete" without me, who sent a typed letter last week on heavy cream stationery explaining the wedding was a practical decision, that the Hayeses preferred intimate, that she didn't want to create tension. No apology. No gratitude for the years I ate oatmeal so she could have steak, for the nights I cried into my pillow so she wouldn't hear, for the blood I sold, the sleep I lost, the dreams I buried to build hers. I folded that letter into the cedar box with Calvin's discharge papers, Mama's prayer shawl, and Hope's baby blanket. Some words only need to be read, not answered. Some daughters need to learn the hard way what a mother's love costs. Some mothers need to learn they're worth more than the cost. This morning, I walked the beach at low tide, collecting sand dollars for the Christmas wreaths we'll make in December, the ones I'll sell at the craft fair for $40 each. Dolores says I have a gift for seeing the perfect ones, whole, unbroken, their tiny dove shapes, a reminder that beauty survives the storm, that love survives, even when it changes shape. I told her it's practice. After 64 years of mending what the world broke, Hope's fevers, Calvin's absence, my own heart, I finally learned to keep myself whole, to choose myself, to love myself the way I loved her, fiercely, fully, without apology, without waiting for permission. Last night at the shrimp boil, Mr. Clarence raised his cup of sweet tea and toasted to Ruth, who taught us that the tide don't just take, it gives back too. And sometimes it gives you back to yourself, whole and shining. I laughed until tears came, the kind that heal instead of hurt, the kind that wash the salt from your soul, that leave you clean. I looked around the table, Miss Dolores with her watercolor sketches of sunsets that look like heaven, Mrs. Yvonne humming Precious Lord, Mr. Clarence carving a dolphin for my porch with a knife older than my marriage, Miss Valerie passing the cornbread with a wink, and realized this was family, not the one I birthed, but the one I chose, the one that sees me, the one that calls me Ruth and means it, the one that doesn't need me to give until I'm empty. Hope called this morning at 9:17 a.m. I was elbow deep in biscuit dough for the community breakfast, flour up to my elbows, the radio playing Ain't No Mountain High Enough, Calvin's song, the one that played when Hope was born, when she took her first steps, when she graduated, when I thought nothing could stop us. Mama, can we try again? I want to know you, the real you, not just the mom who waited, who gave everything. I wiped flour on my apron, the new one, with seashells embroidered on the pocket, $15 at the Tybee Market, the one I bought with my wreath money, looked out at the ocean and said, "Come to the shrimp boil Thursday. Bring your appetite and your listening ears. Bring the girl who used to dance with me barefoot in the kitchen. We'll start there. But this time, I'm not waiting. I'm living." She said yes. I don't know if she'll show, but for the first time, I'm not waiting to find out. I'm not holding my breath. I'm breathing deeply, freely, fully. I remember the day I forgave myself, October 31st, Halloween. I dressed as a mermaid for the community party. Tail made from green fabric and glitter, crown of seashells I'd collected at dawn, the scales shimmering in the light. The kids from the mainland school screamed with delight, tugging my tail, asking if I was real, if I could grant wishes. One little girl, braids and gaps in her teeth, hugged me and said, "You're the prettiest mermaid ever. You make magic." I believed her. I looked in the mirror that night, scales shimmering, and saw not the woman who'd lost everything, but the woman who'd found herself. I believed in me. I believed in the magic I'd made all along. The tide keeps moving, out with the pain, in with the peace. So do I. And this time, I'm not looking back. I'm looking forward. I'm looking at me.